Good morning. This is Coach David Roditi. Welcome back to D1 Coaches Pod. I feel like we've been very silent for a few weeks. We've been busy. Majo, good morning.
Good morning. This is Majo, associate head coach for the beach volleyball team at TCU. We're really happy to be here and share some insights today, right?
Yes, I'm excited about today. Today will be basically all about you, Majo, and what you
Me.
do. And we're going to dive in. We've talked about the mental side of athletics, the performance side of athletics, the mindset of being a student athlete, an athlete. And Majo here will take us through what she's doing currently, what she might do in the future. Very exciting, very in-depth side into the whole mental side of athletics.
Yes, we're very excited. It's a topic that is very important, and as you all know, is being trendy right now. Like there's more focus and emphasis on student athletes' mental health. So it's a topic that, yeah, we have always been concerned about, but I think nowadays there's more information, there's more education, and there's more awareness. So this is one of the reasons I started this path.
We hear that term a lot, as you mentioned, very trendy. There is so much to mental health. What is mental health from your perspective? What does it cover? Because it's not just the health side, but it's also the performance side. So, what would you say is the mental health?
I think it's like the well-being of the person, right? Like not only being successful in sports or in professional or in the family or anything, but also feeling connected with yourself, knowing what you want in the sense of what your body, what your soul is asking for. Like sometimes we fill ourselves with things that we think we desire, people that we think they're a positive influence in our daily lives, and they could be totally the opposite, right? So mental health, I would say, like in my personal journey, has been just getting to know myself, getting to know what I need, getting to know what I want and what fills me up, living a life of purpose, of like knowing myself, which are my strengths and which are my weaknesses, and being okay with it. So it's acceptance. I would say mental health is self-acceptance as well, and also learning to set boundaries and how can you let go of control as well of things you can't control.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. You represented your country in beach volleyball. You travel all over the world competing. How, being an athlete, from a mental perspective, how did it shape you, who you are today, and help you? Now you're a coach. Take us through that process, or how did it shape you?
Well, as you know, it's a very different mindset when you're an athlete and when you're a coach, right? When you're a coach, you're thinking about a bunch of people, right? Different personalities, different approaches. When you're an athlete, you're thinking about yourself. How can I perform? How can I win this point? How can I just get better? How can I push myself when I don't want to? How can I just like make sure that I get everything in when my schedule is super, super tight and I'm trying to juggle between school, between a part-time job and like playing a sport at a high level. So for me, it was very stressful coming from Guatemala, where sports is not something that it's kind of like seen as a profession, is more seen as a hobby. So how could I balance my school, also have an income? So I had to work, and I'm undersized. I'm short for my sport too, so I had to overperform my teammates and my opponents through physical ability, yes, talent, a lot of ball control, but a lot of resilience and making sure that I was the strongest competitor on the court, because physically I was not the tallest and I was not the strongest.
So the mental side, you felt you had to be exceptional on the mental side.
And it was hard because I don't think I was. Yeah, I think I was very emotional. I still, deal with emotions a lot, as we all do. Very passionate. I'm a very passionate person, and I was a very passionate athlete. And for me, like practicing, I love to practice. From joy, like for me, it was a joy just to go and practice, and it really. I got so upset when my teammates were not, so kind of like how to balance that not everyone has your same, how do you say, like, you're not fueled by the same things, right? So kind of how to balance that, and also how to lead your team, because you had dreams and aspirations as an athlete, but you also depend on your teammates and on your coaches. So how could I just make sure that I brought the best out of myself and out of my team so we can all achieve the goal we wanted. But yeah, so I did go to a sports psychologist. The Olympic Committee provided that for us because, as you know, there were times where your confidence was not there. There were some months that you were indestructible, that you were so good and you were competing well and everyone respected you. And then there were some months that you couldn't find your game, or you couldn't find, like for us is like siding out, or our offense was off or something. And I did play indoor volleyball as well. So kind of like the connection with the setter and the confidence I transmitted to my setter for her to set me was something that was hard for me with one specific player. So that my confidence went down a lot in that specific time.
Did you think your sports psychologist helped you?
Yes, I think a lot is, now that I'm like, in the Masters of Clinical Mental Health at TCU, you kind of understand a little bit more of the role of the sports psychologist, and they act more as a guide to you, for you to be able to find yourself and find like what exactly do you need and how to be efficient about it, right? So it's a lot of journaling, a lot of questions that you ask to yourself, how to communicate with your coaches, how to communicate with your teammates, pick your battles, something that we talk about a lot between the two of us. But it did help me a lot, mostly because you need an outlet. You need someone to talk to outside of your team, I think. And that was one of the biggest things. So I did go to a sports psychologist when I was playing in Guatemala, and also when I played with my sister beach volleyball, and we were living in San Diego, and we were preparing ourselves for the World Championships that we qualified in 2015. We did go to a sports psychologist too. Kate Allgood, she was awesome, and it was a lot about not only the mindset of competition, but how to separate our roles, like us being sisters, like I was the big sister, I coached her, I taught her how to play. And she was 15 years younger than me, but on the court we were teammates. Like it was not big sister, little sister, or coach athlete, we were partners. And how to communicate and how to understand the message the other person is giving you in the middle of the game and not taking things personal, all that stuff. Yeah.
I bet that was tough,
Oh.
challenging, playing with your little sister.
Man, it was
She'd probably say it was tough to play with you as well.
100%.
Yeah. And the role of a sports psychologist, mental coach, performance coach, there's a lot of names these days. We've come a long ways since then. Today, it's way more, it's not viewed, it kind of had in the past, it had a little bit of a stigma of, oh, you have a problem. You go see, now it's becoming more and more normal.
Yeah, I think before it was like, there's a weakness there. So us athletes, as you know, we don't want to be seen as weak, mostly in front of our opponents or in front of our teammates or our coaches, right? So you kind of like kept that to yourself But now, yeah, it's more open. I think there's still a little bit of stigma, but there's more, as you say,
Acceptance.
acceptance, yes, and some more help as well. You know, like as you said, like there's a difference between a sports psychologist with like a mental performance coach. You know, like there's different accreditation, different paths through all this. But you have help, which is the great thing. Like some people, you know, want to go to specifically a sports psych or a counselor to work through their stuff. Others would like more of a coach or a motivator or this and that. And I think like as long as you get support and you work on yourself, that you need to think like as I work on my skills that are like, you know, in beach volleyball, it's like, you know, my skills, my passing, my setting, my offense, my serve, all that stuff. I need to work on my mental game. I need to work on when I get to those moments where, you know, like are defining moments in a match, in a tournament, how I'm gonna react, or how can I, after a big weekend, you know, we're on the road every week, right? After a big weekend, how can I decompress and make sure that I take time for myself so I don't burn out in my sport? So those kind of things, I think like it's good to have that walk with someone else that is going to guide you.
Yeah, hang on to that because I want to go back. I want to go back later in the podcast and ask you about that.
Okay.
So don't let me forget. You know, I forget things. I would like take us through. So you make a transition. You were a world class athlete. How do you transition into being a coach? The mindset, some things that you must change, some things that are the same. How was that for you?
I think first, I never wanted to be a coach. So that like life threw me into that. I never wanted to be a coach. One of the things was the same, you know, like my home country, you know, your sports, you're not gonna make a big living out of sports. So that was not in my plans at all. But I started a club in Guatemala in Sporta. It's like a sports facility, and then we're gonna start like build some beach volleyball courts. And they asked me if I want to run a club, right? So that's how I started, and I just it was just easy. Like I'm not saying like coaching is easy, but it was something that I really enjoyed. I had good connection with the players, with the young players, because they were pretty young. And then also I was able to communicate and make them understand how to play, how to like all this stuff that, you know, it's coaching. So, and then you start learning that you can't be that, how do you say it, like that fiery all the time when you're a coach.
Yeah,
As you
I've
are an
learned that the
athlete.
hard way. Yes.
So that was hard because I am all good on pushing or people pushing me and just like go go go. But then you understand that there's some athletes that that's not the way, right? And you have to. I sometimes tell my players like it's like a chameleon, right? Like you go to player from court to court, and you have to blend in of what that athlete specifically needs. So I think one of the biggest gifts that coaching has given me is the awareness, the emotional awareness, and to meet the players where they're at instead of where I want them to be. And that has taken a lot of time.
Was that one of the biggest challenges?
I think it is because sometimes we're impatient as coaches. We want, you know, results, or we want to see like someone get it. You know, like you're like, when is this player gonna get this specific thing I want him to work on? And sometimes like you're just not relaying the message in a way he or she can understand it, or it doesn't click for them, and you're trying different ways, different like analogies, metaphors. You're trying everything possible, and sometimes maybe it's just you. Maybe you have to relay the message to someone else for someone else to say it to this person, and that's how it works. So being like getting out of yourself too as coaches, you know, like it doesn't have to come all the time from you. You're not like, there's other people that are gonna relate the message better than you sometimes. And that's sometimes hard.
Yeah,
Do you understand this?
totally. I mean, I had a conversation yesterday with one of my players, tennis players. I'm always on his court, and I asked him, "What, How am I helping you? What do you like of what I'm doing that I'm helping you, and what am I doing that I'm not helping you?" And so he told me it's so hard to know what they need, like you said, awareness. And a lot of times I just ask, how can I help you? Otherwise, we could go weeks, months assuming and guessing. We can just ask them. I think as an athlete, you sort of, especially in the past, you assume that your coaches know everything, and you assume that your coaches are experts at every part of the game, and you realize they're just humans
Yeah.
and not as it's kind of sad when you realize that your coach is has got all these weaknesses, you know, as an athlete. And I can see it when my athletes are disappointed that we're not all that.
We're not superheroes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you you become a coach, you're coaching, you have a very successful beach volleyball program here at TCU. You've been doing it for 7, 8 years. And then 2 years ago, you decide to get into the mental health and get a master's in mental health, clinical mental health. Is that
Yeah.
the official?
Masters in clinical mental health. Yeah.
How was that? What led you to want to do that?
I think a lot of the things we're talking about right now, I just wanted to be a better coach. I think I wanted better tools, and I think like one of the biggest things also was like you always have, athletes, most of the athletes, student athletes, in the age there are and transitions in life and everything are struggling in different things. I'm not saying their life is a complete struggle, but they're struggling on things. So how can I show up better for them? That was one of the things. And then I think, as we all have, I think as coaches, we think that we've failed to some kids, and it hurts so much. And not in the sense that you didn't do anything that you possibly could do in that specific moments, but there were things that you didn't know how to handle, and that broke my heart. So, and that's something that I have like, no, like if I can learn, right? And if I can be better as a coach, as a person, as a mentor, because for me, coaching is not only about the sport. For me, coaching is like the biggest responsibility I have right now, because I'm a role model for these girls. I want it or not. I could be a good or a bad role model. But I don't want to be the reason that one of these girls just doesn't do well in life. I'm not saying in sports, right? So for me, that was one thing. And that's how I just started to think about how can I educate myself? How can I support better the athletes? And I've always had, like, since I was in Guatemala, since I was an athlete before I decided to be a coach or I was put into that position, that I like the intersection of education and sports can give so many possibilities and opportunities to young people, and I want to be part of that, right? And for me, the tool or the vehicle is sports, for them to become better people, better leaders of the family, better professionals, better athletes, better, all these things. So how can I just be better at what I do? Because every interaction I have with our student athletes, I wanted to build up in a positive way. And I know a lot of times I don't, right? Because I have to work on a lot of things about myself that I'm doing constantly. But yeah, that was one of the main reasons. I think so.
So you feel this responsibility to be a positive influence in all these young ladies. What what do you know now that you're almost done with your masters that you didn't know 2 years ago? How are you different as a coach today than you were 2 years ago? Knowing going through this process.
I think one of the biggest things is that I thought that my job was to give feedback, and to just give answers to them. And now I'm more of like I am better listener to what they need and what they're going through, and sometimes just validating what they're going through and walking with them builds a connection that at the end your message as a coach on court is going to be more effective than when you're always just telling them what to do or what you think they should be doing or what should they be changing or all of that. So I think that listening, how to listen, be an active listener, validation, and asking the right questions, instead of me thinking what to say. Yeah, that was huge. Simple, right?
Oh, I missed that. I wasn't listening.
Yeah, it happens often. It's okay.
You can apply that.
I made
You can,
peace. I made peace with that a long time ago.
you can no. I listen. I listen. You can apply that to us, to our relationship. I feel
Do you
like you
think-
do that with me. I know when you're doing it.
You know,
Yeah, when you're validating, I'm like, oh, she's using her.
she's being a
tools.
counselor.
She's being a counselor right now, which I appreciate. I need it. We all need it. I would say yes, I agree absolutely everything you're saying, and I'm taking notes. I would also say that you're there to guide them and aid them. I do believe that at the end of the day, it's on them,
Yeah.
and I would encourage you to not put so much responsibility on yourself
Yeah.
because, especially with you have 26, 26 young ladies between 17, 18 years old and 23, 24. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get all 26 right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You have to be in peace of what you're capable of doing, and yeah.
yeah. And a lot of times, I feel a lot of times that student athletes are not ready to receive,
Yeah.
and you can't just jam it down their
No, that's
heads,
that's one of the hardest things because and you have to wait and you have to be respectful when they're ready, right? To open up to you or to let you in, right? And that's hard, right? Because as you said, we can't you can't help anyone that doesn't want to help themselves or they don't want to open up.
Yeah. We have a mental performance coach. We have several. We have Coach Center, which we've met through the podcast. He helps our team on the mental side. We also have had John Suada, who's a professional
He's a psychologist.
yes. And he talks about, as a coach, one of the goals is to get them to open up the valve. That's the analogy he uses, or the image that you as a coach, you're constantly putting little credits with them in the relationship so they can open up the valve little by little. And validation, empathy, listening helps that process of them opening the valve. But it is very frustrating as a coach
Yeah.
when you sort of the answer, or you feel the answer, and you can't just say it because they're not ready to listen, and it actually goes backwards.
Yeah.
So that's very challenging as a coach.
It is challenging. And that what you're saying is what, we learn in school, as counselors, is like the counseling relationship or building rapport, right? Like making sure that that's one of the first steps with whoever you're working with, your athletes, a client, on, like building that therapeutic relationship, or like the coach athlete relationship. They say it's more important than what you actually can teach them, or what your knowledge about the sport or anything else, or as a therapist, a psychologist, a counselor, or what techniques, what theories you use. That comes in second place. But the relationship, they're going to trust you more.
Yeah. And we're not gonna go down this rabbit hole, but I will share what I just thought about, which is sad. Today's April 7th. So today, people,
Yeah.
I think the government or whatever, they're voting on this whole new NIL and
Like NCAA
NCAA,
house settlement.
the house settlement, and part of that is student athletes being able to transfer so much, and that you can literally go to 8 schools as a student athlete. You can play on 8 different football teams. You transfer every semester. And what you just said about how it takes time to build that relationship, that rapport, for them to open up the valve, takes time. And in the way at college athletics is going, there's going to be kids that are going to miss out 8 times because they're transferring so much, and that's sad. It's unfortunate. So I just wanted to point that out. Not going to go there, but anybody in the NCAA is listening. I doubt it. Think about that. Just think about, or in the government, think about how this is all negatively, impacting our student athletes, because it does take a long time to finally open up that valve.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about some specifics that maybe you have already implemented into your coaching on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, the way you go about dealing with all these young ladies? Any tools, any techniques, any processes that you have adjusted now that you're more knowledgeable about the whole mental side of things?
There's a lot of things that I've been using, which, it's really cool when you can't implement right away what you learn. So I feel I'm like almost doing my internships or practicums like right away. It's not that I'm like experimenting with the girls, but no, I'm not
They're
doing
your
that.
guinea pigs?
No, but
They probably wouldn't want
I
that.
hope they're benefiting from it. One of the things that has been very helpful is, in the moment, you're on a match, you see like it's getting tense up, heads are spiraling, so they're in a fight or flight or panic mode. How do you deal with that in that specific moment? So grounding techniques, bringing them to the present moment, breathing techniques, all this stuff I've implemented in the middle of matches. And this is like clinical, how do you say, sorry, man, I just forgot the word, crisis assessment, not an assessment, but a crisis intervention almost. It's not that we're dealing with like suicide ideation or like big things like that they're harming themselves, but yes, it's like an immediate thing that you have to do in that moment. How do you bring them back?
So tell me one grounding technique.
I think one of the things is that I do, because we're in the sand and I just have like seconds with them on a timeout or a side switch, is like, okay, tell me what song is playing right now. Just like as simple as that. Just bring them to the present moment, get out of their heads and say like, oh, this is a song.
Not in their heads. You mean in the at the match? You guys play music?
Yeah, we play music in the matches. There's music. It's
we don't. So that's not helping me.
No, but you can say like, hey, like, do you have like somebody, did any of your friends came and watch you play? And just look into the crowd and see like whatever, or oh, what do you see? Like, how's the day right now? Like, oh, look at this, like something. They have to just like be able to use their senses, their sight, their smell, their touch, their hearing, like use their senses. You can go through all the senses, or you can just, whatever you have time in that specific thing, so they can understand they're safe. Nothing is going to happen to them. They've been at this place before, and we can keep playing. Yeah. It's not that it's gonna, completely change their performance, but it's not gonna keep spiraling. So those things have helped me on identifying, instead of like sometimes other things that I used to do or we do as coaches is that, okay, they're panicking, so they need more information. They need me to give them, answers of like strategies, how to play defense, how to do that. And no, they just need to. Their brains just need to know that they're not in danger. Everything is okay. Yeah, so that's one, and it's been very helpful.
When I was at Davis Cup for Mexico, in a critical moment, one of our players just went on total crisis panic mode. I could see it, and we were about to win, and we would have won the series against Guatemala of all countries. We
Let's
were
go.
right there by your house
Vamos, Guate.
in that club, and I regret not faking a heart attack. That's what I should have done. I should have faked a heart attack, and I can just picture it like, just on my way to the hospital, supposedly. Just like, you can do this, just to bring them to the present.
Yeah.
And something just so out of the blue, so different, to get him to snap out of that place where he went. And I regret not doing that. Maybe just asking him, hey, what's the capital of Guatemala? Maybe that alone would have done it. And God, I regret that. I think that's why I got kicked out of Davis Cup, because we didn't win that match. But anyways, that's a different story. Okay, so now you will be funding or creating, opening, whatever the right word is, your new practice, your new private practice. Is going to be called the
Growth Performance.
Okay,
And
tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a mental performance coaching business. So it's a holistic approach. So what I want to do with this is to be able to support athletes not only in their mental game performance, but in their mental health as well. So that balance and intersection between performing, being excellent, excel, growing, but also being happy, being in peace, doing what you do with joy, and avoiding burnout. Yeah. So one of the things that I not only want to work with the young athletes and pro athletes, it's also with their parents or mentors or coaches on how to support them, what they need, how to push them, how to motivate them, or how to just let them be and let them grow, giving them the power and understanding that they're capable of doing things, and that they're not alone. It's something that it is important to have someone to walk that path with, and I'm passionate about that. I've been an athlete, I've been a coach. I see the struggles. I have had the experience in both ends, I think. Before I came to TCU, I had a business that was called Greatness Training, which I did like college prep, not only recruiting, but also the whole performance aspect, weight training, nutrition as well, and also working with the parents. How can they be the best teammates for their kids?
Yeah, that's a huge part, the parents, because you can do all the work. You can. I mean, obviously, it's going to help the student athletes or the young athletes, but parents, especially at that age, between whatever 12 and 18, parents can.
Yeah,
it's scary. As a parent, I'm a parent. I have 2 kids, and it's we can really hurt their progress or growth in a second. I mean, they're resilient; they'll get over it, but we can help or not help. That I'm glad that you specifically are talking about the parents, and you worked with parents in that company as well, correct?
Yeah, yes, I did. I had like meetings with parents and with the athletes as well. And because like sometimes like the parents have all this like desires and dreams, and they know their kids' potential, right? And they want it to be like this, right? And it doesn't happen. So sometimes they need someone in between to be a mediator, a guide for both, and also just helping them not transmit their anxiety and stress to the kids, mostly in the recruiting process. I'm not going to be working on recruiting at all, but just like on how to manage their own stress and anxiety, and not, like not having the kids feel it as much, or not. Sometimes the kids, as we talked before, I think it was like Luke Swan episode, the kids can be like just stressed because they feel that they're gonna disappoint their parents,
100%.
and they're not, like, it's not a lot about the sport itself. It's about, like, their parents are gonna be mad or are gonna be disappointed, or it's gonna cause stress because, like, you want to earn that scholarships, or you want to like all this stuff. You need to get the grades, you need to do it. So there's a lot of things, that these kids need support on. But I do think, like, also, like, parents have always the best intentions, but sometimes they want to do it their way, and they don't meet their kids where they're at right now.
Yeah, especially at that age. So there's so much going on, right? Just with life.
Yeah.
You have teenagers, hormones, life, social media. We can talk about that.
That's huge.
How that influences mental health. I'm sure you deal with it on a daily basis in college. Even myself, used to be kind of viewed as a female issue. The social media, and same on the guy's side. Exactly. I learned my lesson when I posted the wrong picture one time on a birthday, just a random picture. The student athlete got mad at me because it was a bad picture. I'm like, man, since when do we care what our pictures look like?
It's important.
Oh, huge. I learned. Even you mentioned, I remember that. You mentioned that, why did you put that picture? That was not a good picture. I'm like, man. Oh, well.
Yeah.
So when is this opening? When are you going to start your own practice?
So it's in the building, like, it's almost like all set, with the most important thing is me actually working with the athletes and the parents. But we do have some NCAA situation, as you know, right? We have some NCAA rules that don't allow us to work with certain populations. But the good thing is, like, I submitted, like, compliance helped me to submit this proposal to the NCAA, and it was approved, so I'm all good to go. But first, I need to just, like, get some things like insurance and facility, like all this little paperwork, as as any other club.
Yeah, you could get sued for mental
malpractice. Yes, 100%.
My son lost a match he would have never lost unless he talked to you. You lost some income.
Yeah. No, so just little things. My website is, like, about to be up, logos and things like that. And just want to make sure that everything, it's according to NCAA rules. You don't want.
So by this summer, would you say by this summer?
Hopefully, yeah. So right now, as you know, we're in the thick of the season, so that's the most important thing right now. And hopefully, I'm gonna be able to work with the high school, middle school population, and also not college athletes, because that's a population I wouldn't be allowed to work with. But yes, like pro or semi-pro athletes as well. I'm really excited about that. And I've been doing this, like, small group sessions with the team, and it's something that I'm going to implement in my practice as well.
You call it M&Ms?
I call it M&Ms, and it's like...
What does it stand for?
Mindset and mastery. But I put M&Ms because, I'm not a sweet tooth. I don't eat that many sweets, so it's kind of, like, funny that I call them M&Ms. But yeah, we work in small groups within the team, and I group them with similarities. It could be like their class, it could be their situation in the lineup, or their role in the team, or if they're injured or something like that. So we split them up. Sometimes, most oftenly, I've been doing it's voluntary. So they kind of, like, I tell them, okay, the times for the M&Ms are this. Send me a text. What do you want to work on? What are you struggling with, or this and that? And then they come in, and I tailor it specific to that. So I think that's something that is very important, where you actually understand what's their main concern, right? And work through that, even if, like, maybe that's not the real reason why they're struggling, but you still need to make sure that you're listening to them and accommodating to what their needs are at that specific moment. And then the small groups help also for them to coach each other. So it's really cool. You're there. We start
That's
with,
great.
yeah, we start like kind of like with norms, you know, that you kind of say like that, yeah, this is a safe place where we can be vulnerable, we can open up, we support each other, we listen, it's active listening, all this stuff. So the girls are doing really good. I have some girls that consistently always show up, others that, you know, like they don't like to talk that much in a group setting.
They're not ready.
They're not ready.
Or they
yeah.
don't like it.
Or,
Yeah,
or
it's
they,
okay. Yeah.
and it's totally fine because you
Yeah,
know,
that's
like
all part of it.
whatever they need. And I think this is something that I'm going to implement in the group performance as well with other kids and bringing up some, you know, pro, semi-pro athletes to work with them as well and share their experience, because I think that's, they don't always want to listen to the same voice probably.
That's great. I can't wait for you to open that up. Here's what I didn't want to forget. And just, we have to wrap up here. We're getting towards the end of the podcast. But for those parents listening, or student athletes or athletes, how do they know? How do you know? Do you ever know if you who to go to? Because the mental side can be so much. So at what point it's all related, the personal side with the performance side, the sport, the winning, but also just being a human. If they need a sports psychologist or a counselor or a psychiatrist, can you tell us in 30 seconds to a minute, how do you know?
You're not going to know.
Okay.
As an athlete. But the thing is, like, all helping relationships, there's referrals. So they're going to refer you to the one that you need.
So if a student athlete, young lady, 13 years old, you're working with her, and you would say, you know what, you talk to the parents or the student and say, I'm going to refer you to a psychiatrist. This is beyond.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah. You talk to the, you know, after assessments or just like getting to know your client or the person you're working with, could say like, hey, like, these are some things that are not my expertise. I would like for you to, I'm going to refer you to this person. Is that okay? And sometimes they would say like they don't want to, they want to keep working with you or something. But as if it's an extreme case, for example, there's like self-harm or harm to others, yes. Like,
yeah.
it's out of control. Mostly like when I graduate as a and like the master's of clinical mental health, after that, you during the program you have your practicum hours, your internship hours, so you have experience, right? But at the same time, then you come in for your to get your license. So you have to have a certain amount of hours, and then when you're a licensed practitioner, licensed counselor, an LPC, that's different, right? Right now, like, I still have time for that. I don't know if I'm going to go exactly towards that route, or I'm going to go to get like some mental performance coaching certifications, because I want my main goal is to work with performance, not much of the counseling mental health side of it, which I'm going to touch.
Yeah, it's all related.
It's all related.
It's all
but yeah, so referrals. And student athletes in college, you go to your athletic trainer and she's going to refer you to the right person. Even you don't even have to go to your athletic trainer if you don't. Sometimes you don't want your coach or your staff to be involved and to know what you're going through. You just go to the counseling center. It's, you know, there's you're protected by confidentiality, so nobody's going to know that you're there, or that what are you working on, or what do you need, where are your struggles. No one's going to know about that. So you just go, and there's so much support and so much help that most student athletes don't use in their campuses. Like, be like school counselors too. There's so many.
Correct.
Like schools have counselors, or not. I'm not saying only. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are. You know.
Are you saying I can go?
Yes, you can go. Okay. You can go. It's good. Like, for example, I have a therapist, which I haven't gone in a while, but I was like going consistently a couple years ago. I was struggling with some things. And also, I got diagnosed with ADHD in my 40s. Now that I'm back in school, I'm like, oh, this is why I was like not doing well in school, mom. Okay. But yeah, it was hard for me to balance school and work. And yeah, you have to go through your own journey. I've had, like I said, like sports psychologists, life coaching, and all that stuff. But yeah, it is important for you to just ask for help. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. I hope if one person listening today gets to ask somebody for help, school counselor, somebody private, then that was a very,
Yeah.
very useful podcast today.
Yes,
I'm
agree.
excited for your company. We can keep talking for hours and hours on the mental side. Thank you for those listeners out there. Appreciate all the support. You're great about talking to our fan base what to do
Yeah.
with our podcast. What do they
Yes.
have to do?
Yeah. Please share, comment, subscribe, support us. We're doing this, for you all. So yeah, share it. Help us out.
Yeah, help yourselves out.
Help yourself.
So with that, from the courts.
To the sand. This is the D1 Coaches Pod. See you in the next set. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.